What's up, everybody? Welcome back into another episode of The Lawyer You Know. We are in day 2 of Donna Adelson's trial over in Tallahassee. And today was a day where her kids testified against her. Did they sink her case? And her lawyers were not so subtle about pointing the finger directly back at Wendi Adelson with their questions and the evidence they presented through multiple witnesses today. We're going to break down what every witness talked about in today's day of trial and how it maybe helps Donna Adelson, how it hurts Donna Adelson, and importantly, how Wendi Adelson seemingly is becoming more and more at the center of the bullseye of Donna Adelson's defense. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Let's get to it. All right, so the first witness on the stand today, there was some discussion about whether or not some of his evidence was going to come in. They had to proffer some of it at the beginning of the day, meaning just explain to the judge how it's relevant, how he has background, why he should be able to testify in this case about this document. But really what he was here to do was dig into the family law case and discuss some of the nastiness that was in the emails sent from Donna Adelson in the family law case, how much she worked on the case. There was a lot of questions about that. Could you tell how Donna was intimately involved? Yes. He's talking about being at the dinner plate, at the dining room table, working on the case, looking at the computer, looking at the motions coming in. I see a lot of people saying they came in from Melanie Little's stream. That's awesome. Thank you. Where are people watching the stream? Let me know where you guys are watching the stream. I see a lot of people saying Melanie Little right now, and cupcake invasion. I guess that's her thing. I love cupcakes. Mine should be like donuts. I love donuts. But the question, are they really just going to throw Wendi Adelson under the bus? So we talked about how there's some subtleties to what they've been doing so far, but today it was not so subtle. Let's take a listen to some of, but we have to remember, it's really, really important for them to connect Donna Adelson. What did she say? What did she do that connects her to this case? Not just is there a motive there, but did she really have just the poison and venom coming out of her mouth? Or was it just like she loved her daughter and whatever was best for her daughter, she was going to help? How involved was she? And that's why I think the family law case and these emails specifically are so important.
His 23-page rant was insufficient. So he's trying to push the court to deny hearing your petition.
Okay, what does she say about the efforts that Mr. Markel is putting into this divorce?
Chivers has made his divorce a full-time job to attempt to get what he's always gotten, his way.
And what does she say is the most important part of Wendi's divorce?
The most important part of your divorce is relocation. I sincerely hope your attorney understands that this is your non-negotiable. Lots of things are negotiable. That's one thing that you cannot let her think, okay, well, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. She needs to hear from you how serious you are about this and how it will benefit the children and close-knit family support system, as well as your significantly better paying job with hours much more flexible than your current job.
Okay, and does she say anything to disparage Dan Markel in this email?
Danny thinks he's a very important person, and as always, he and his needs come first.
Does she call him a narcissist?
She does.
Okay, I might have gotten ahead of you, but if you'll read what's up there, please.
Only an idiot like him would write that. He should be the only one consulted for making decisions regarding the health, education, and religion of his children.
Okay.
So they talk a lot about, the religious aspect of this is really important. It's used, and you really get to see the nastiness of a lot of family law cases. But she talks about the health and the religion and everything and how he's trying to control everything and he's being so controlling. And then the state's like, well, she's going to fight fire with fire, try to control it her own way.
Going.
Mr. Markel has become a religious zealot over the last few years since the birth of our first son. Skip forward. This is also to show the congregation what an attentive father he is.
And attentive is in quotes, right?
Yes, it is.
But she doesn't think he's an attentive father, does she?
No.
Okay, that's leading, that's speculation. There's all sorts of objections I can see like throughout this trial that weren't coming up. John said there's a tremendous amount of leading questions by the state and direct and objectionable lawyer testimony by both sides. Is this usual? There's some leeway, and I have noticed the state led a couple times, especially with Rob Adelson, Wendi Adelson's oldest brother, the non-Charlie Adelson, the other brother, some may call him, because there were some things they didn't want him to talk about, and you could tell he was not as experienced in testifying as Wendi Adelson was. So they were allowed to lead him around the kind of touchy areas to make sure he didn't go certain areas. That's absolutely okay here in Florida. And we do that all the time. But I think, I mean, a lot of this stuff I was ready to jump out of my chair and object to, and the defense just didn't. I think they have a theme and a theory, and they're sticking to it in cross. And I think they're trying to connect the dots. Will it work? We'll see. But I think they missed a lot of opportunities to object, in my opinion. Now, they object a lot to hearsay and to things in this divorce file that are really bad. And I get why they want to keep them out. But it seems like the judge has already made his decision that this stuff is going to come in.
Okay, what did she say about the schooling opportunities for the boys in South Florida?
He's indoctrinating them, not teaching them. If he truly cared about religious school for them, then clearly one of the 37 Hebrew day schools in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County would be a better choice for our boys.
All right, next.
And then, you know, she talks so much about the Jewish religion and all these emails and text messages, some disgusting stuff we're going to get to later about how she said she would dress them up. But she's like kind of going both ways. Like if he, you know, he's fake. If he really cared, he'd come down in, you know, South Florida where there's a great Jewish community and schools and kosher foods and whatever. That's going to be kind of a common theme in the questions that they ask.
Okay. Does she say the word bribe? Donna Adelson.
Yes.
Okay. What does she say about a bribe in this email?
Another bribe.
What's funny is when it was attentive husband, she was obviously not meaning attentive. She was, you know, joking or saying it's not really attentive. But when she says bribe in quotes, she really means bribe. That's exactly why people should not be able to testify to what somebody else means by what they type. And if there's inconsistencies, again, the defense, I don't remember on them cross bringing this out, but this was something that I noticed. It's like, if we're going to say what she puts in quotes is not real, it's got to be consistent. But Georgia Kappelman is getting away with so much here because of her control of the courtroom. I don't know, you know, what the other side is thinking, but we're going to talk about some of the procedural things she does and how she sets up witnesses to dominate them. It's a direct examination with Wendi Adelson, but it might as well be a cross because I think Wendi knows Georgia thinks she had something to do with it. But the way she sets up the questions is a way to dominate the witness, and we'll get there when we get to Wendi Adelson. People are asking who's on the stand, the investigator with the prosecutor's office. So he's there just basically to talk about this family law file.
To get him to allow relocation should be the offer of plane tickets, since he does have family that would allow him to use their homes to stay in.
Okay, next, please. What does she say about the legal fees?
And isn't he also supposed to pay some of your regular legal fees? This bastard has not paid 1 cent toward your bridge gap alimony.
So there's a bunch of stuff she goes after. We're going to hear more of it kind of as we go. And I just wanted to give you kind of an idea of how nasty this file is back and forth. Dan Markel was also fighting nasty. I mean, they were all just kind of being like people are, unfortunately, a lot of times in family law cases. But I did want you guys to get an idea of what this was like going back and forth and how involved Donna was. If you're not watching the whole case, she is very involved and says horrible things about Dan Markel and threatens to do horrible things, but also threatens to bribe him. It was clear she cared and she was going to work and fight hard to get those kids and Wendi to South Florida.
In the project of raising their wonderful children.
Okay, I think we can.
Lori said, dominate the witness. Does that mean bully? Georgia was so nice. I don't think do you guys think she comes off as very nice to these witnesses? I don't think she comes off as very nice, but I don't mean bully at all when I say dominate. Lawyers are supposed to dominate witnesses that are not friendly to them. Like, yes, Wendi Adelson is a state witness, but she is not friendly to them at all. You have to dominate somebody like that. I know people argued with me when I said she was smart. I still stand by that. I think she's smart. I think she's a tough witness on the stand. She is a lawyer, and I think Georgia dominated her. And I think that's what good lawyers do. I meant that as a compliment, a very, very high compliment when I said dominate.
Breeze through W3 and 4, please. Go on to tab Y.
Yeah, I guess people are very using lawyer language and like real life language. When I say she wasn't nice, I didn't mean she was mean to the witness or bullied the witness, but like, I don't think she was friendly to Wendi Adelson. I do not think she was friendly. I think she was exactly how you should be to a witness like Wendi Adelson.
What is this?
Order on wife's petition to relocate with the minor children.
What was the order?
It was denied.
When was it denied?
It was filed June 21 of 2013. It was actually denied on June 20th, though.
All right, so signed by the judge on June 20th, filed with the clerk the next day.
Correct.
Okay, and it denies relocation
Yes.
with prejudice or without prejudice.
Don't see prejudice referenced in this motion.
Okay.
Nikki, by the way, I'm going to bring your question up when Wendi testifies because I have her little explanation of the immunity that I'll explain more on.
The order.
So now they're going to get into the fact that it was denied with prejudice, meaning they can't bring it again.
The defendant acknowledged that this relocation order has come down.
She does in an email to a friend,
When is the email sent?
June 24th, 2013.
So just 3 days after the filing of the order?
Correct.
What did she say to the friend about losing relocation?
Unfortunately, after paying a lawyer $600 an hour for 10 months of case preparation, the judge listened to Wendi testify for 1 hour. Nothing. Well, I'll do this. The judge took a break and asked one question. I'm not hearing about any physical abuse by the father. Has he been pulling out their toenails? When Wendi said no, the judge said, well, I made up my mind. No physical abuse, no relocation. Outrageous. So at the moment, she will not be allowed to relocate.
At the moment.
At the moment.
All right. How does she conclude that email?
Anyway, if I sound angry, it's because I am. We're all very upset and cannot believe the outcome. Sorry, I didn't mean to respond this way, but I'm beyond angry.
And again, I don't blame Donna Adelson for maybe 75% of her anger and emails in a case like this where her family's involved. I don't know if anybody has been a family member or a close friend to somebody going through a nasty divorce. It's very easy to get caught up and be angry at the other person, and you're hearing kind of one side of the story and whatever it may be. But in context, looking back now, the state's going to use it all to show and prove their theory, theme, and motive in the case.
Okay. Tab Z.
This is a order setting pretrial conference and non-jury trial.
All right. So the divorce is set for a final hearing, a trial.
Yes.
And when is the trial to take place?
Tuesday, July 1st. No, this says never give.
Yes, it's
All right.
over.
After it's over, here is what Donna Adelson says to Wendi Adelson about the relocation.
Nothing else to fight about?
No, this says never give up. It's time for action.
Hold on just a moment.
Time for action. It's time to take control of your life and not let Jibbers think he's just won anything by having you remain in Tallahassee, 8 hours away from the only family you have, and lose out on what will be a job that will afford you and your children advantages that they will never otherwise be able to enjoy. Let's show this F what will make him absolutely miserable. Fast forward, however, the rest of your life, and consequently, Dad's, mine, and yes, even Charlie's, will be affected by how well you can perform or act.
Dad's, mine, and even Charlie's. So they highlighted it in all these different areas to show exactly who was involved. We've already convicted Charlie. Now we've got her on the stand, Dad and I, to make sure that everybody knows it's Donna Adelson writing this, because we know part of the defense's case is, well, it said Donna and Harvey Adelson. It could have been either one of them writing these emails. So they're picking apart the defense's case. They're making sure they're weaving it together, showing how involved this family was, specifically Donna and Charlie, right? It's one at a time. That's how they're deciding to do that. If they end up going after Harvey, they've got Dad and I in here a lot. They've got Donna and Harvey on all these emails. But right now they're focused on Donna. And you want to loop Charlie and loop Katie in as much as you can because they've already been convicted. So this prosecution team is showing exactly what you do in a conspiracy when you're going one by one using the tools you already have. It's different than if you're trying them all at the same time. You don't already have multiple guilty parties that are part of the conspiracy that you can basically poison the well on by connecting them to the person that's accused sitting in that defendant's seat right now. Brian said, how is highlighting like that allowed? Some judges will allow it, some will not. But even the judges that won't allow it, usually you're allowed to do things like this while the witness is on the stand. Can you underline where it says Dad, mine, yes, and even Charlie, and have them do it on the stand? So sometimes it takes less time to do it, depending on how the judge allows. Once something's in evidence, you can read it and you can do things like this to have the jury, have it explained to the jury in the way that you want to explain it as a lawyer. But I do get what you're saying. I got tired of Wendi saying she didn't remember almost every answer after testifying so much. How can she not remember? So she's definitely playing a role when it comes to how she's going to answer these questions. But at the same time, remembering what she said in a police interview or a deposition or a family law case 10 plus years ago, I think there's got to be at least some arena where we're like, okay, I get why this would be difficult to remember exactly what you said. I think she gave on a lot of things that the state wanted to get out. I don't think she fought him on everything, but I think people really hate Wendi Adelson. So I assume they absolutely hated every word that she said. But I thought like the state got what they needed to out of her, in my opinion.
Before July 31st. You can be a good actress when you want to. I've seen you in action. You need to put on the performance of your life. Gibbers hasn't beaten the Adelson family yet. You have a very strong family behind you. Dad and I have done everything we can to try to help you for the last 10 months. Now it's time to help yourself. Fast forward. If you can put these actions before everything else this next month, and you know that you've only got the kids a limited number of days to do this, we believe that Gibbers will be saying, stop this. And you'll be telling him, you wanted me in Tallahassee? My children are going to fit in this Bible Belt. They're going to church every time I have them. I'm having them privately tutored at home to get them caught up for Sunday school classes. Tell him that you've got a new outlook on life and a new hope, and you'd like to go to heaven. Perhaps he would like to join you and the boys at church. Plan of action. 1, take photos of the boys dressed nicely, standing at the front door or by the sign of a Tallahassee church. Then change your Facebook status photo to this one so everyone will see this. Perhaps line under the photo with New Beginnings in Tallahassee. Might be nice. And 2, make arrangements to get the boys caught up with a private tutor, a teenage Catholic church member, who will come to the house to teach the young men about Jesus. If you don't have time to arrange for this to happen, I'll happily do it for you. 3, let Gibbers know that your children will be baptized in the Catholic Church. Let him know that the Catholic Church is a big part of your life now with the boys, and you'd like him to be part of it. As long as he wants you to remain in Tallahassee, the boys will be involved with you in church-related activities and ceremonies. Let him get used to it. I've already checked this out, and a baptism can be arranged within 2 weeks. 4, I'm looking into summer camp programs for the boys. We will pay for it. 5, register them for toddler classes at church. I've looked into this, and even if they don't go, we can show Gibbers that they are enrolled for the fall semester. And you cannot tell anyone this is an act. Take control from him. Get to him psychologically. He's going to want you to stop this. We plan to make a financial offer to him to allow this relocation. You need to work this plan, and we'll help you through it. We'll help you through it so that it may affect how much we will offer him. Maybe he'd be willing to let you relocate if he knew his children would attend the private Hebrew academy like Donna Klein and Boca, or perhaps he'd like them to invite him to a Christmas party at their other Sunday school, in quotes. And then she says, I know you would never want to think that you didn't do absolutely everything you could to try to come down to your family. We don't want Danny to continue his religious influence over these children any more than what he's already done. If he keeps this up, they won't want to eat in your non-kosher home. As they get older and more involved under Gibbers' religious influence, they will be able to request which parent they want to live with. Don't allow Gibbers to have this power and control over them. Then in reality, he's going to have the same control over you. Dad and I is referred for the person. It's time for you to show us that you can put on the performance of your life for the next few weeks. We send this letter with our love and only the best intentions, Mom and Dad.
All right. And you mentioned this as we were going.
So for Wendi Adelson to stand up there, for Donna Adelson and her, I'm going to screw up those names a million times, to stand up there and be like, we didn't hate Danny, he was a great guy, all this stuff. This is just a sampling of the types of things Donna Adelson was saying and doing to Dan Markel to try to rip his heart out. And again, it's in the family law context, it's miserable. Is it abnormal? Probably not. In this context, it looks really, really, really bad. Ashley said the boys are with Wendi, right? Yes. But the Adelsons are Jewish, not Catholic, right? So Sue, you're bringing up the exact reason this is also sadistic. So Wendi Adelson talked about in the beginning of her direct that she's Jewish too, like Dan. She wouldn't say Dan is more into it. He's just kosher and she's not kosher. And that's something that he changed. But yes, they were literally just doing this to try and ruin everything Dan Markel cared about when it came to his kids. That was the point and purpose of all of this. That's why she said, you've got to fake it. You've got to pretend. You've got to play the part. The motion to enforce, then after the case settled, there were still motions going back and forth, but really important, the grandma motion that has to do with Donna Adelson and her visitation with the children that the state is, creating this entire theory around, right? So that motion gets filed. They're still fighting this case all the way up on till when Dan Markel was killed. And guess what? The grandma motion was never heard by the court, never litigated, because why? Dan Markel died. That's how the prosecutor ended this direct examination, and I thought it was a great way to end. It was a short cross, again, focusing on the email could have been from Harvey, could have been Donna. Longer emails are usually from Donna. So they talked a little bit about that, but I don't think they hurt this witness that much as far as the cross-examination goes. I would have objected more to his personal knowledge and him guessing what people mean. But the highlight of the day were Donna Adelson's children testifying against her. And those are the next two witnesses. So Wendi Adelson is going to talk about her immunity here right when we get back after this ad. Thanks to Mudwater for sponsoring this episode. They were such a surprise add-on for me when it comes to boosting my energy in a healthy way. The ingredients are great, and they're all formulated to support energy, focus, and immunity without the jitters, crashes, and sleep issues. It's also zero sugar, USDA organic, and Whole30 approved. I get so sick of drinking the same thing over and over again, the same exact cup of coffee, and I just fall into that rut. And with a fraction of the caffeine, only 35 milligrams versus 90 to 100 milligrams that's in coffee. But it's not just their original flavor. They also have the matcha flavor. And I know some fancy people out there absolutely love it. And you can try it now with Mudwater. And with my link, you can get the Mudwater starter pack with a free frother. A really great value, and now $20 off. And by the way, this free frother is the Mac Daddy of all frothers. I now use it for literally everything. So if you've ever wanted to try a healthier way to get that energy, focus, and immunity without the crashes, the sleep issues, and the jitters, don't wait. Do it now with Mudwater and get that free frother. So Nikki had this question earlier, and it said, Wendy's immunity confuses me. If it protects her trial answers, is that just toward impeachment? Should she go to trial or any evidence that would relate? So that means they would not be able to use what she says on the stand during this trial against her. They wouldn't be able to put these transcripts in. They wouldn't be able to say, you admitted to a crime here. It's derivative use and use immunity for what she testifies to on the stand, and it extends to cross-examination because the cross-examination portion has to be relevant and within the scope of the direct examination for which she was giving this testimony for, and for which she was subpoenaed for. All of that is really important going into it. She's going to explain it real quick, but I wanted to highlight it for Nikki.
And that subpoena confers a type of immunity on you. Do you understand that?
I do.
Okay. Which means that nothing you say here in court pursuant to that subpoena can be used against you at a later time. Do you understand that?
I do.
Okay. But it doesn't necessarily mean you could never be prosecuted. It just means that what you say in court could not be used in any future prosecution. Do you understand that?
Yes.
So she still could be prosecuted in the future, but what she says here on the stand can't be used in that prosecution. So I figured we'd hear it from Georgia and Wendy's mouth to get it exactly right. That is the type of immunity that Wendi Adelson has. So they get into the background, how she met Dan, how they got married. They talk a little bit about religion. They talk about the fact that it was a contentious divorce. And they talk a little bit about how involved Donna / the parents were in this divorce. Let's get a little bit from Wendi and what she thinks about their involvement.
Better quality of life for the children by increasing their access to close family and providing more stability and consistency. Who was the close family that was available in South Florida for the boys?
My mom, my dad, and my brother.
So every time they talk about South Florida family in the filings, it means Charlie, Donna, Harvey. And why is that important? And just put your lawyer hat on when you're listening to this. Why do they keep bringing up things like this and connections like this? Because they're trying to prove this conspiracy and they're trying to connect these people together. The more they can say Donna's name with Charlie, with Katie, with anybody else involved, the better it is for them actually pointing the finger at Donna. Pantuffle said, never put anything in writing you wouldn't want to read back to you in court. Yeah, I always assume my emails are going to end up as exhibits, right? Yeah, and that's how it should be, honestly. Ugo Monk said, not abnormal, overly involved parents, venting, going on the defensive or the offensive, both sides being spiteful and vindictive. I need much, much more to convict her. Right. And that's exactly why, Ugo Monk, that's exactly why motive is not enough. Just because somebody has a motive doesn't mean they committed a crime, right? And we talked about this the other day. Marielle said, is Georgia setting Wendi up for future arrest? I don't think she's necessarily setting her up because there's nothing that, is coming out in Georgia's direct here that is going to be used against Wendi. But I think it's not a bad thing to get on the record that Wendi Adelson knows she could be prosecuted in the future.
Why did you want to move to South Florida?
I had very unstable employment in Tallahassee. I had a wonderful job, but it was on grant money. So year to year, I never knew if I would still have my job. I had a job offer.
Really interesting the way this comes back around later on cross, which I thought the cross of Wendi Adelson was actually pretty good. That maybe she didn't want to leave Tallahassee. Maybe she was okay with this job that she's explaining why she doesn't like it yet or right now.
That was very good in South Florida. And the assumption was that Danny was always going to be at a different school, a better school. He used to joke that he would take 1 bar exam for every 2 bar exams that I had to take while we moved around the country. And so it seemed like a way of having stability while he was climbing up the law professor ladder to be ultimately at Harvard or Yale.
And was relocation important
Which again, that's what we've said the whole time. That's kind of his MO. He was brilliant. He probably would have done it.
to you?
It was, in terms of having a safe and stable place for my kids.
Did you consider having to live here in Tallahassee, being stuck? Or had you referred to it previously as being stuck in Tallahassee?
I mean, I may have. The idea of being stuck is if you don't have permission to live anywhere you want to live. But I had a nice quality of life here.
Did you consider the worst case scenario to be that you would end up stuck here in Tallahassee if your petition was denied?
I don't know. I mean, at the time, I may have felt that way.
Okay. Might you have sent an email to a friend on March 24th of 2013 indicating, quote, "I do fear that the worst case scenario that could happen is that I will be stuck here in Tallahassee"?
It's possible.
So this is what I was saying that Georgia starts doing to dominate Wendi. Couple things happening here. Number one, this jury, you have to remember, jurors are picked from where? The location of the trial. So all these jurors are picked from Tallahassee. Not everybody that lives in Tallahassee loves it, but a lot of people do. A lot of people love where they're from and where they live, whether they choose to live there or whether they're born there. And now Georgia is going to go into a ton. And the reason I call her Georgia instead of Miss Kappelman is because I always want to say Koppelman and instead of Kappelman, or I don't want to get her name wrong. So that's why I say Georgia, not to be disrespectful, because she's a female. People have said, I'll try to just stick to the prosecutor, regardless of which one of them is questioning. So to get Wendi Adelson to say all this bad stuff about Tallahassee on the stand, maybe the jurors will be like, okay, big shot. South Florida's not that cool. By the way, a lot of people in Tallahassee don't like South Florida and vice versa, as we're kind of hearing here. So I think that that's actually a good strategy, number one. Number two, you'll notice from the very beginning, Georgia Koppelman, the prosecutor, Kappelman, is asking Wendi Adelson questions and impeaching her, asking her very specific things. And if Wendi Adelson dances at all, she impeaches her. She refreshes her recollection. She shows her a deposition. She shows her a text message. She shows her an email. And when you do that, you get the witness on their heels. And the witness doesn't want to disagree with you as much. They don't want to fight with you. They definitely don't want to lie. They don't want to change their testimony. So what it does is eventually later on, you can reach a little bit and be like, you hated Dan, where maybe she didn't say hate, but she said, he's the worst. I hate him in the moment, whatever it is. And you can reach a little bit because now the witness believes you have the goods because you've impeached him over and over and over and over again. And they don't want to get impeached anymore. So I think the prosecutor did a really, really good job of controlling the witness in that way, letting her know, I'm prepared. I have all your prior statements. If you lie, I will impeach you or refresh your recollection.
Well, that I sent that.
Would it refresh your recollection to review that item?
I'm happy to.
It's on tab 6 on one of those binders in front of you.
This one.
Regarding,
So yes,
okay. And did you also email a friend around the same time frame regarding life in Tallahassee couldn't compare to the life that you would be able to enjoy in South Florida with your brother Charlie and his boat and pool and hot tub and things like that?
it's certainly possible.
Okay, that's on tab.
And again, she just keeps refreshing her recollection. Joanne said, Peter, good to see you. What did you think of Wendy's testimony? She seemed not to remember. State had to remind again and again. And that's exactly it. She would quibble on some things. I think it's okay to not remember some things. A lot of this happened years ago, but the state was ready and they were prepared. And once you refresh somebody's recollection or impeach them enough, they start to become more agreeable. This happens in every trial, not just this one. Liz, I think the defense is doing a great job. I find that the prosecutor is always kind of annoyed and exhausted. I like that the other prosecutors more. So I do think she's got a little bit of an exacerbated feel to her sometimes, this prosecutor. I would say right now, SJLD said, what do you think about the defense attorneys? I would say they're doing a good job. I wouldn't necessarily kick it to great yet. It's only been 2 days, okay? I wouldn't necessarily kick it to great. I wouldn't say they're sucking. I know some people thought they were sucking after day one. I think they're doing a good job right now. They have a theory. They have a theme to their case, and they're sticking to it. Ironic, Wendi lost her amazing career prospect over this, according to Rob, and the family who hated Tallahassee may now spend the rest of their life there in prison. Yeah, we'll talk about this more when we get to Rob's testimony. I am going to jump ahead a little bit here. They talk about how bad Tallahassee was, the divorce was, the relationship was. This prosecutor is making it clear that Wendi hated Tallahassee. Talk more about mom, Donna, getting into the litigation. And we're going to hear them discuss some of the mom's involvement.
When your mom is really upset about something, does she talk about it a lot?
Yes.
And when she talks about it a lot, and I'm referring you back to this time frame, does she talk to your brother Charlie specifically a lot?
My mom and Charlie have always talked a lot.
Okay. And was Charlie kind of like your mom's problem solver?
I don't know about that. I kind of feel like it was where she would help him more throughout childhood and adulthood. She would help.
Yikes. That's bad for Donna. It's like, actually, she would help him more. And I mean, I think the prosecutor wouldn't have cared. She's like, that works either way in a conspiracy. Whoever's helping whoever. I thank you for that comment, Wendi.
Him solve problems, not really.
She definitely did a lot for him, didn't she?
She did.
She helped him with his business. She helped him with his personal.
And the prosecutor, like any good lawyer, you have to be a good listener. And when the witness gives you something, don't fumble it. Don't drop it. Take it the next step. And that's exactly what this prosecutor did. She didn't let that drop. She didn't let that fall. When she's like, Charlie was Donna's problem solver. That's obviously where she wanted to go. Wendy's like, no, I think she actually helped him more. Okay, let's go with that route. That works too.
Life, his finances, his bills, remember to pay the whatever. She was like still mothering him into adulthood, right?
Yes.
Okay. But as far as meddling in your life, did your mom feel that Charlie could make more progress with you than she could on items like who you were going to date?
I would just be guessing about that.
Okay. At the time of Dan Markel's murder, was the defendant, your mother, very angry at Dan Markel?
Before he died?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
And you hated him too, right?
At certain points, I was very frustrated with him.
Did you refer to him as
Well, on Cross, they're like, you said you hated Dan Markel, and that's a big deal at the end of Cross. We're going to watch that together. But I think this is the portion that she was trying to talk about. And Wendi, of course, dances like she often does when it comes to something like this, like an evasive witness will. Now, I think maybe, and I'm not calling out my chat here, but maybe you guys have watched some of this, or maybe you have some preconceived notions about Wendi Adelson. I do too. So I'm not just saying you, but we all do. So I'm interested to see how this comes off to the jury. Do they find her evasive? Do they find her memory like Swiss cheese? Are they annoyed that she keeps having to be impeached and her recollection refreshed? Maybe. Or they could be like, oh, it's been 10 years. It's hard to remember. It's tragic for her too. It's tough to separate Wendi Adelson from the whole conspiracy, right? So I really always wonder, what is a jury thinking when they see her on the stand? And they know that she had to be given immunity before she would testify. Before watching any of these trials, how many of you, let me know in the chat or in the comments, how many of you would have known when she said, you've got this limited immunity, we can still prosecute you, because the prosecutor said that, but we can't use anything you say in court against you. How many of you would have known, oh, that's a big deal? Or would it just have been like, okay, it's a subpoena like every other subpoena? Let me know in the chat.
an STD?
I don't remember saying that.
Tab 5.
This was when she compared Dan to an STD.
It looks like I made that analogy.
Danny is an STD. One wrong mistake, marrying him, and this will never go away. Is that what you said?
I did.
Did you share that kind of sentiment with your mother?
I don't remember ever saying that, so I don't think it's something I said very often.
And this was said in an email on February 26th of 2013, correct?
It was.
Approximately 17 months before the murder?
Yes, I don't think it was an email, though. It looks like it was sort of an iMessage.
Okay. Did you ever refer to your ex-husband as the Dark Lord?
I don't remember saying that, but I certainly might have.
And again, everybody's saying, Peter, it's not 10 years. She testified at these other trials, trial after trial. Okay, I'm saying from the jury's perspective, okay? Number one, the actual interview was 10 years ago, plus it was more than 10 years ago. So it is time, and every time you're asked, it's a little bit different. You're quibbling here and there, and I don't know how many times she's reviewed her deposition testimony or her interviews or whatever. But from the jury's perspective, they mentioned things like this was 10 plus years ago multiple times. So we're trying to think about it like the jury may be thinking about it.
Did you refer to your ex-husband as Jibbers?
I did.
What is the meaning of Jibbers?
Jibbers was just a silly name that a friend helped me come up with to basically make him feel less scary. It was nonsense.
Did it reference Jew in boots?
That I don't remember.
It wasn't a friendly name, right?
It was a silly name.
Did you ever say that you hated Dan Markel?
I don't remember saying it, but I certainly could have.
Tab 31, please, to refresh your memory.
This moment. I said that I hate him in this moment.
Okay. And did you say in that email, that same email, quote, I hate that I hate my children's dad?
I did.
And do you agree that email was sent approximately 15 months before Mr. Markel was murdered?
It was in April of 2013.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So I think that's what the defense attorney was trying to kind of get at in the cross. They read through more of them about, how they hated each other, how they fought about stupid things like a tennis racket. And she's like, yeah, I did take it, but I gave it back. They really went into a lot of that. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. When they talk about the motion to relocate, talk about Charlie's involvement a little bit. Again, the more you can say Charlie Adelson's name, the better. I think we're going to hear him testify. So you've got to do that.
Okay.
We did talk about it before I filed it, and he was amenable to figuring it out. But once I filed it, he was against it.
Okay. Did he allege in his response that the sole stated reason that you wanted to relocate was to be closer to your parents?
He did say that in his response.
Bok said, I wasn't disagreeing with you when I said 10 years. I was saying it wasn't just you. It wasn't just you. A bunch of people were saying it, and I know. And I think that's a great point. I think it's a really, really great point to make and for us to think about. Daniel said, Peter, you talk about how brilliant Dan Markel was, but do you think differently of him knowing his personal problems, how he weaponized family law? No. I never said, I don't know Dan Markel personally. I was not friends with him, right? I sat and listened to him speak in a seminar, right? He was a professor. I was a student. I was not friends with him. I didn't go out with him. I didn't go out to dinner. So I don't know his personal life. The only thing I know about his personality is in comparison to other lawyers and other professors, which I would describe him as an academic. So it does not change the way I think about Dan Markel. It doesn't change about how smart I think he is. Also, I will say a lot of people are really, really ugly in litigation generally, especially family law litigation. And I never want to judge somebody on their worst day. So, I wouldn't be there anyways. But yeah, I'm not trying to say I was like best friends with Dan Markel by any means at all. He was a good professor. He was really, really, really smart. That's how I would take it. Nurse of interest, Jackie. They are obviously not fans of FSU football. Bowden era. That's right. Tallahassee. That's what we think of. That's synonymous.
And is that the response that your mom referred to as his 23-page rant?
Probably.
She had a lot of thoughts about that particular filing, didn't she?
Yes.
Okay. And she laid those out in an email to you. I know you remember. That's the whole, your non-negotiable is relocation.
Yes.
Do you recall having 2 long mediations to try to resolve your divorce without a trial?
Yes.
And were those mediations successful?
They were not.
Was Mr. Markel seeking to depose your mother as part of the divorce proceedings?
I don't remember that.
What about your brother, Charlie? Did he care about whether you moved to South Florida or not?
I think so. I mean, I think he would have liked for me to be closer to him and have the kids closer to him.
Would it have been okay with him if you had made a decision to stay in Tallahassee?
I would have imagined so, yes.
And after the relocation motion was denied, you were kind of like, well, maybe I have to stay in Tallahassee. Wasn't there at least a moment of that for you?
I mean, it wasn't maybe, that was the court's decision, and I respect the court's decision, and I would make the best of it.
What about Charlie? Was he outraged by the court's decision?
I honestly don't remember him being outraged.
So what the prosecutor's doing now, if you notice, what do you guys think the prosecutor's doing? Put it in the chat, put it in the comment section if you're watching the video right now. What she's doing now, because if you remember during Charlie's case, Charlie was the kingpin, the bad guy, the big shot with the money, getting stuff done, making all the connections between Katie and the shooters and Donna and everything, right? He was the mastermind. But now the prosecutor's doing what? Putting Donna at the center of the conspiracy. Charlie couldn't have cared less. What does Charlie care if his little sister comes back to town with her kids? He's a party guy. He likes toys. He likes, whatever, jet skis, whatever. Well, he didn't really care. And she does this with the other brother as well when he's on the stand. But who cared? Donna cared. Donna was the one overbearing and intimately involved. And Donna is the reason Charlie got involved in this, to try to fix it for Donna, because Donna is the one who did this. Yes. A bunch of you saying Donna is the matriarch. Build her up to be the mastermind and the matriarch. It's exactly what the prosecutor is doing here. Spicy said, so far, all the state has shown is a messy divorce and overbearing mom. Charlie paid and organized all this. Even Rivera said he was not involved. That's a great point, Spicy. And this is all about building up the case as a prosecutor. So you said messy family law case and overbearing mom. So that's what they're trying to prove right now is mom's involvement, overbearing mom controlling Charlie and doing everything for Charlie so that he could fix this problem. That's what they're building. It's one block at a time, right? No one witness is going to prove the whole case for them. But eventually they're going to have to get into the criminal activity. We're going to talk about the bump. We're going to talk about the text message between Charlie and Donna. They're going to talk about the code words that they use. Catherine Mabanawa, how did she get paid? Where was Donna driving when she texted outside of Charlie's house? We know a lot of that's coming. The jury might not, and the jury might be sitting right where you are. And I hope they are right now. I hope they're seeing like, wow, these are nasty things Donna Adelson is saying. But did she commit a crime? The state still has to prove that.
But to your mom, it was a big deal.
My mom was really upset.
It was described by your mom in several places as like a life and death proposition. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think my mom thought my life in Tallahassee wasn't good.
Is it true that you never would have left Dan Markel without your mom's suggestions?
Overruled, she answered the question based on her own knowledge.
I would have left Danny regardless of anyone else's input. I was very unhappy.
I agree that she should be able to answer the content of this question, but that's absolutely a leading question and should have been sustained. That should have been sustained. So when you're a defense attorney in there and you have a prosecutor dominating the courtroom and the judge is letting her ask questions like that, it gets difficult. It gets difficult. That should have been sustained. She should have to restate that question. Is it true you never would have left Dan if it wasn't for Charlie and Donna? Like that's the answer in the question. Is it true? She might as well say correct at the end. That's a leading question. That's an inappropriate question on direct examination. But the judge let her ask it. And so that becomes difficult to object every single time. And the jury starts to think, what are they so worried about? Or why are they being jerks? So you've got to be cautious when things like that happen. And the judge is letting her ask questions like that.
Right? That you would have never left him without your mom's suggestions?
I don't remember saying that.
Please refer to tab 41 and see if
Here, I wouldn't have done it on my own. I do say here, I wouldn't have done it on my own.
you specifically reference your mom.
I say my parents and brother's suggestions and support.
Okay.
So yeah, she did say it. And again, mom and Charlie pushing Wendi to do these things, taking over. Gavel and Gloss said DA was the mastermind. CA's arrogance wanted to be the hero and take care of it. WA, the damsel in distress. Def knew, but wasn't going to say no to mom.
I think because I wasn't happy, but part of me thought maybe I would just stay until the kids grew up.
Then they get back to the name calling from Donna. There was a lot of that. And she confirms the threat for the boys to become Christian from Donna, but she says, I would never do that. Then she also talks about the $1 million bribe. She says she wasn't going to pay it. Later, they kind of confirmed that maybe she was going to pay a third of it. And that she thought Donna Adelson's ideas were crazy. So again, I thought the prosecutor did a good job of getting different information, the same but different emphasis from Wendi Adelson on the stand. I thought that was a job well done. It wasn't just the same regurgitated information every trial, but you have a method to the madness. And then we get to some more disgusting examples from Donna Adelson here.
You're asking open-ended questions to the witness, Ms. Kaplan.
I'm reading from State's Exhibit 64B, which is
As the counsel testified,
I don't remember, but I can read there below what I was saying.
did it have to do with this will give him ammunition to pursue things in court?
I might have meant that at the time.
Did your mom respect your decision not to use her suggestions?
I mean, she had to have, right? I'm a grown up.
Did you hear the prosecutor there? She said, well, is she going to respect your decision? She says, I have to. I'm a grown up. And Georgia said what a lot of us are thinking when she went, But that's objectionable. The defense could object. Can counsel save their comments and their reactions to answers themselves? Now, she could have followed up and saying, she didn't respect your decision lots of times, didn't she? She did what she thought was best, regardless of what you thought was best. You can follow up with those questions, but those little comments, this prosecutor does that a lot. And I think it can affect the way the jury sees the case, especially if they, like us, are thinking it. I think I had the literal same exact reaction when she said this live.
She kept pushing though, didn't she?
She was suggesting other ideas.
Okay, January 27th, 2013 email 64W. Charlie brought up a good point when he said that Americans were dropped behind enemy lines during World War II wearing Nazi uniforms to get what they wanted. They had a job to get done, and they did what they needed to do to accomplish it. You have a job to get done and a very short time frame to accomplish it. If you dressed your kids up in Hitler Youth uniforms and brought them down here, I could care less if it was an act of defiance and would show gibbers that he's not in control.
So these are the things Donna Adelson is discussing. Gross, disgusting. What juror is not going to hate the person that says things like that, right? Caitlin said, I attended trial this morning and witnessed this. It was unreal watching Georgia in person. Also, finishing up my paralegal certificate this week. How packed is it in the courtroom, Caitlin? Let me know how packed it is, because I don't want to come if there's like no seat or I'm going to have to squeeze in, because I'm thinking about coming one day, but haven't made up my mind yet. Talia said, I don't remember times 100 is Wendy's motto for trial. Okay. You guys were a lot more in tune with this than I was.
Did she suggest that to you?
Yes.
Okay, let's jump down a little bit. She confirms their voices on the recordings. They talk about how Charlie told her not to buy a house because she wouldn't be in Tallahassee much longer. She says no. And that's one of the ones where, let's see if I can find this one.
Any reason to dispute the metadata associated with it on your phone?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and you recognize your brother in this photo?
I do.
And who's the woman he's pictured with here?
Katie.
Is that Catherine McBanoa?
Yes.
So did your brother at any time send you this picture? Not at any time.
Really wanted to buy that house, telling me not to.
You not to buy the house because you weren't.
All right, here we
Did
go,
your brother on October 31st send you this picture and basically tell you not to buy the house because you weren't going to be living in Tallahassee much longer?
I don't remember him ever telling me not to buy the house or that I wasn't going to be living in Tallahassee. I really wanted to buy that house.
Do you remember, after all the drama with the Skype, asking your mom, let's see if I can find it here, to help you work on the Skype thing because it was becoming a real
She
problem?
moved on with the whole Tallahassee house. You don't need it. You won't be there much longer. She couldn't really impeach Wendi with that, but that was one of the examples of the prosecutor reaching a little bit because she was controlling and dominating the witness. I just wanted to give kind of an example of that. Then they talked about, the prosecutor asked about the grandma motion. Wendy's like, oh, I don't know what that is. Then after describing it, she's like, okay, yes, I do. No, it was never heard because Dan was in fact killed. They talked a little bit about Charlie being a couple of years older. He would make the joke about the TV being cheaper than getting a hitman. Yes, it was a offhand or a distasteful joke. Then they talk about, the celebration dinner connecting with Charlie and Katie, a picture of Katie and Donna together, or Wendi together, which I think was important, putting them in the picture together with co-conspirators, right? You can see how all of this is coming together. I think that was smart and well done. They talked about how well they know each other, how often she's seen Katie. She said only twice. Talked about the dad's 70th birthday party. No, I didn't talk about, committing this crime with any of my family members anytime I was around them or seen them. Then we get to her driving by the crime scene, which is a really big point of contention in this case and something people are really adamant about. And the last witness of the day I'm just going to bring up here was Officer Bannon, who responded to the crime scene, secured the perimeter, remembers Wendy's car because he has the same one coming. She was driving deliberately, whatever that means. I felt like it was a bit of a reach, but he confirmed Wendi drove right up there, and from where she was, you should have been able to see all the commotion that was in front of Dan Markel's house, and she didn't do anything to investigate it further. She said she didn't know it had anything to do with his house, but that's what the last witness was for. So let's hear her kind of explain herself away.
Weren't officially breaking up with him so much as asking for a certain period of time without contact. Is that right?
That sounds right.
Okay. And then your plan was to reach back out to him and figure things out one way or the other?
I mean, I think I was breaking up with him, but I have a strong aversion to conflict. So this was probably my way of not breaking up with him.
Talk about breaking up with Jeff Lacoste. We'll talk more about him later.
The day of the murder, we know about the TV repairman left about, did you say about 9?
The truth is, I don't really remember, but something like 9 or 10.
Definitely before 10 or by 10?
Yes, that's my best memory.
All right. Where did you go after the TV? What was the next place you went after the TV repairman left?
So I was home, I think, for a couple of hours first. I was doing a little bit of work. I was talking to some friends. I think I ate breakfast. And then I left probably close to noon or a little bit after noon. I was meeting 2 friends who I would frequently meet on a Friday to have lunch with. And so I went to run a few quick errands and then meet them for lunch.
And on your way to meet the friends, did you have an occasion to go down Trescott?
I was trying to turn down Trescott. That's where I used to turn and take just the road I was used to. But there was yellow tape up. And so when I tried to turn, I couldn't turn. So I made a 3-point turn and kept going on Centerville.
And so you encountered a police roadblock at that location?
Yes.
Okay, couldn't go any further because there was a police car and some yellow tape, right?
Right.
And that was, you were able to see that from the intersection there, or you actually turned onto Trescott?
I tried to turn and then I couldn't go through. So I turned around and kept going.
How far down Trescott did you proceed before you turned around?
Just until the tape.
Which one of you or your ex-husband had the kids the night before he was killed?
The night before, they were with Danny.
Right. So it was his responsibility to take them to preschool that morning.
Yes.
Who was supposed to pick them up from preschool that day?
I was supposed to pick them up.
Had you talked to Dan Markel or your children that morning before you encountered the roadblock?
I hadn't talked to the boys because it would have been, I wouldn't have talked to them. They didn't have cell phones. They were little. So I only would have spoken to them if I had gone to the preschool and seen them, but I didn't do that. So I hadn't talked to the boys. I'm sorry. What was the second part
How
of the question?
about Dan? Did you speak to him that morning?
We didn't. We had plans to talk. We had traded some text messages and emails, and then I called him and he didn't pick up. And that was the last contact.
Did you attempt to call Dan Markel when you encountered the roadblock?
No.
Did you attempt to call your kids' daycare after encountering the roadblock?
No.
Did you notify anyone that you observed the roadblock?
I was talking on the phone at the time. So I may have said to the person I was talking to, oh, I'm trying to drive, but I have to turn around, hold on.
Okay, that was probably a bad question. Did you attempt to investigate in any way or ask anyone what the roadblock was about?
I wasn't concerned about the roadblock.
And so this was before, at the end of the day, that's why they brought the officer on to kind of give a different version. Did you guys think that was really big impeachment, bringing on that witness at the end of the day? Let me know. Okay. Then they talked about the fact that she did in fact move to South Florida after Dan was killed. And she said she was happy to be out of Tallahassee. Again, I think a lot of this was bad for Wendi Adelson. A lot of this works in favor of pointing the finger at Wendi Adelson, and this is direct. Wait till we get to cross. She changed her kids' names a year after Dan was killed, from Markel to Adelson. That's a big woof right at the end of the direct. And of course, Donna was happy to help. Donna was happy to register them under the name Adelson, all of that. And then right near the end, they start talking about what Donna Adelson wanted Wendi to do for Charlie during his trial.
Were you or your children in attendance at his funeral?
No.
Oh, and by the way, she and Dan Markel's kids did not go to the funeral.
Okay, court. Has
No,
she?
ma'am. No.
What about, you did offer testimony in November of 2023 as well, right, on a related case?
Yes.
Okay,
October.
And did your mom, when you spoke to her in November of 2023, offer you any advice or thoughts about how you should act or behave or what you should say in court?
Yes,
She did.
she did.
And what was that?
I can't tell you I remember exactly, but she was hoping I would be supportive of my brother.
Okay. And do you know what her thoughts were afterwards?
I do.
Okay. And what were they?
She was devastated.
She didn't feel you were supportive.
No.
Were you in any way involved in the plot to kill your ex-husband?
No.
Did you maybe know it was going to happen, but not know the details?
I did not know it was going to happen, and I did not know any details.
Did you provide any information, even unknowingly in hindsight, that you think could have been used to assist the murderers?
I don't think so. I didn't provide any information.
What information do you have regarding your mother's involvement in the plot to kill your ex-husband?
I don't have information.
But you do admit that your brother said he looked into hiring a hitman to kill Dan Markel.
I don't. I admit that my brother made a tasteless joke repeatedly about buying me a TV because it was cheaper than hiring a hitman.
But then someone did hire a hitman who did kill Dan Markel, right?
Yes, that happened.
Putting her squarely in the middle of all this and asking her the hard questions. Did you do it? Were you involved? But that is what happened right after he made that joke.
Was part of the plot to kill your ex for you to have plausible deniability or to know very little about it?
I was not involved in any plot to kill Danny.
Were you shielded from the plot because, I don't know, you couldn't be trusted to keep a secret?
I was not involved in any plot to kill Danny.
Why did you tell Investigator Isom in your law enforcement interview that you were worried the police, or you were worried, I guess, in the police car on the way to be interviewed, that you might be considered a suspect?
Because I couldn't think of anything bad going on in his life other than the divorce. And frequently the ex-wife is a suspect.
Were you treated as a suspect?
I was not.
But you mentioned 9 times in your law enforcement interview being a suspect, didn't you?
I did, yes.
And also saying your family is the one that would have the motive to potentially do this to Dan Markel. So that interview makes her look very, very bad. On cross, they get up, and when they talk about the police interview, the first thing she asks is, your mom was shocked when you told her what happened? Yes. That's smart. Right. Because they're looking at each other and they're saying that this is what happened. And they're trying to say Donna Adelson knew about it. But Wendi Adelson says she was kind of matter of fact. She wasn't that shocked, which to me doesn't compute, doesn't go together. They talk about meeting Katie. They met her with Lacoste. Talk about how kind and great Donna is. Talk about how she and Danny were falling in love and how smart Danny was. Talk about how the derogatory pleadings went both ways. Donna said a lot of mean things in these pleadings, but she never said she wanted to end Dan's life, right? And she helped him even after the divorce. And Wendi confirmed all of that. I thought that was a good point to make across. Now, you don't have to believe it. You can say, I still hate her. She still seems like a horrible woman and all that, but I thought it was a good point to make on cross. They repeated a lot of what the prosecutor said. Talk about how Miami would have been better for Danny too, because they have a big Jewish community there, a lot of kosher restaurants, all that stuff. She never wanted to take the kids out of Danny's life. She wanted Danny to be around. She wanted Danny to be able to, see the kids grow up and be, it was just all the stuff that's like, you read that family law file and that's just really, really hard to believe. Let's take a listen here.
But you think she hated him?
I think she was mad at him.
Danny, at the time that he was killed. Do you remember saying that?
I believe I said that.
But the week before he died, your mother was babysitting for Danny, wasn't she?
Yes,
And nothing but pleasantries between the two of them.
that's right.
And in fact, she actually made him banana bread specifically the way he liked it, right?
It was his favorite.
Without nuts, but with chocolate chips.
That's right.
But you think she hated him?
I think she was mad at him.
Mad at him. There's a difference between being mad at someone and hating them, isn't there?
There is.
Thought that was a great point. She hated him. After the divorce, she was babysitting for him. She was making him banana bread. She may have been mad, but she didn't hate him. That's different, right? I don't necessarily know, but she's getting something, right? And you got to do what you can with what you have. Then I thought this was interesting how this stuff came out, how maybe she didn't want to leave Tallahassee at some point.
And then this goes on. Third page is, now you're writing on May the 2nd of 2013, correct?
Yes.
A little different subject, but if you go to the next to the last page of that exhibit, See where it starts, wait, it's me again?
Yes.
The paragraph after that, I wanted to ask you about this. It says, on Sunday morning, we're supposed to sit on the same stage. You're referring to Mr. Markel, correct?
This
Yes.
is not the right spot. This is not the right spot. Basically, she says she wanted to keep the job. It gives her, the freedom to do this or that. I really wanted to get where she said, I might have to keep up the facade, which to me was really interesting.
For the chance to save face with my family. And that's like they've always been doing, correct?
Yes.
So you think if you take relocation off the table, that it will give you an opportunity to discuss things with Mr. Markel and hopefully work them out, right?
Yes.
On the next page, you talk about what the alternative vision is, and that's what you currently have planned, which is to have Gary fly up to testify at the hearing, right?
Yes.
Your mom would testify, right?
Yes.
They would fly up and spend days with you, correct?
Yes.
You expected at that time the hearing would last 1 to 2 days, right?
Yes.
And you were concerned that you would go through all of that, spending more money, being more stressed. And then you say, for the chance to save face with my family and to be given an opportunity I don't actually want, to live with them in South Florida. That's what you said, right?
Well, I say an opportunity I don't actually want with all of my heart, but maybe part of it
Okay.
to live with them in South Florida.
All right. And then you say, so I am willing to put myself through all of this just to keep up appearances with my parents and brother that I want to be living down in South Florida or down south with them, even though I don't want to.
I mean, maybe they're pointing the finger at Wendi. Maybe they're throwing her under the bus, but that's her best defense. It's like, I didn't even really want to go to South Florida. I was keeping up the facade, and there's more coming later with that. So Donna's attorney here, to me, is giving Wendi Adelson her best defense. I wanted to stay in Tallahassee with my family. I don't know. I wanted to keep this job. I don't know. I want to take relocation off the table. That all sounds really good for Wendi Adelson, not so much for Donna. That she was lying to her mom because her mom was so overbearing and crazy about getting her to South Florida that she wouldn't take no for an answer, even though the judge was clearly not giving relocation. And then we get to what she did with the actual petition.
Pretty important, and I think the state pointed this out in its opening. It says that this denial is with prejudice
Yes, ma'am.
of the wife's petition for request to relocate with the minor children. And you're a lawyer, so you know that with prejudice means this is done. This topic in this divorce is over.
Yes, with prejudice means it's a final decision of the court.
But what it says right before that is, as such, the parties stipulate to the denial with prejudice of the wife's petition. You see that?
Yes, I do.
So what happened is as after the judge says, if their toenails haven't been pulled out, I'm not thinking relocation, you actually stipulated to denial with prejudice, right?
Yes.
You did not tell your parent.
She stipulated, meaning agreed to. A stipulation is something you agreed to. You don't make the judge make the call. I don't know why I don't remember that from the other trials. So she stipulated to it, didn't tell Donna, agreed to it, wanted to stay in Tallahassee. At least part of her wanted to stay in Tallahassee. Man, I was surprised when I heard that. I did not remember that.
That you stipulated to denial with prejudice, did you?
I don't remember any conversation there, really.
So not knowing that it was denied with prejudice, your mother thought you still had an opportunity to get it up through your final hearing, right?
I believe so.
And so she kept writing these ugly things and giving you all of these ugly suggestions, right?
She did write those emails.
If you had told her you stipulated with prejudice, that's probably not what you wanted, Mom, but that would have been the end of it, right?
I don't know. I would just be guessing.
May I approach?
And she made her mom sit outside so her mom couldn't actually hear what was going on in the hearing. I thought those were all really good points. You told her sit outside because you might testify, but in reality, you just didn't want your mom to hear. So yeah, she was manipulating Donna. But I also think this is kind of good for her defense, right? If she didn't care about all that, then why would she do all this conspiracy to end up to move down to South Florida as well? Thought that was interesting. Okay, then this was a really sad part at the end, but this is kind of what she finished her cross with, which I thought was pretty strong.
You can bring it in. Cross-examination.
Say it all in, was it 2006?
2006, we got married.
Isn't it true that you've stated that you knew on your fancy wedding day, when you were all dolled up and feeling like you were an actor in someone else's show, you knew it on your honeymoon when you were enjoying the vacation but not thrilled to be there with him. You said, I'm not sure I liked him, let alone loved him, but I was eager to start a life with someone and he wanted to do it with me. Recall saying that?
I don't recall saying that, no.
I have placed in front of you what's been previously marked as defendant's exhibit.
I see that I said that in 2013.
Ms. Adelson, you would agree that when Danny Markel was murdered on June the 18th of 2014, your little boys lost their father for the rest of their life.
On the day that he was murdered was July 18th, and yes, my boys lost their father.
It sucks to miss that date, but she's getting to the end of her cross here.
They are growing up as 11 years have passed without his influence in their life in any way. Isn't that correct?
I wouldn't say without his influence in any way, but yes, they've grown up without their father.
He's not here to give them advice.
He is not.
He can't come to any of their functions, sports, anything else.
Correct.
They're not eating kosher like they would have with their father.
They are not.
They don't have him at all
They don't have him in their lives day to day. No,
because on July the 18th of 2014, he was brutally murdered in his driveway. Isn't that true?
that is true.
And you testified on direct that anybody in your family that had anything to do with it should be held responsible. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And that includes you, doesn't it?
Anyone who's responsible.
How about that ending? Anyone should be held responsible. That includes you. Because they want the jury thinking, was it really Wendi that did all this? She was manipulating Donna before. Is she manipulating Donna again? Is Wendi the master manipulator here? Is she the one at the center? That was a pretty good ending, but for missing that date, of course. And then the prosecutor gets up and says, you were an actor in someone else's show. Whose show was it? Who are you trying to make happy? Your mom? That was pretty good. She said some really crazy stuff about Dan and maybe cared a little too much about your boys and what happened to your family, didn't you? That's what the prosecutor did on redirect. Then we get to Robert Adelson. This is who we're going to finish with today, I believe. Yeah, because we already talked about the last witness. And Robert Adelson is the oldest brother, aka the other brother of the Adelson family, older than Charlie, older than Wendi. He's an ENT doctor in New York. He said mom was a little controlling. Everything was fine with Danny until it wasn't. Donna was very involved in the divorce. Charlie's into partying, not Wendy's divorce. Donna's very into the kids and the grandkids again. Not really deflecting from Charlie, but we already have Charlie. That's how the prosecutor's feeling. It's like, we already got you, Charlie. So let's not put all the focus on you. Let's focus on Donna. And if you're Donna, you want to focus on Charlie. You want to focus on Wendi. You want to focus on everybody except for you. He heard about the, $1 million job offer that Wendi got. He heard all this stuff secondhand from his mom, showing how overbearing his mom was. He talked to the FBI. His mom told him not to talk to the FBI, but he's like, no. I'm going to talk to the FBI because I'm not going to not talk to the FBI because you. And I told him about Wendy's secret boyfriend, Jeff, because, I wanted to have a clear conscience. Nothing about my dad's birthday was a surprise. Mom called and said there was a tragedy. He called her back. Mom was very matter of fact, not crying when she told him that Danny had been shot, which I thought was, interesting. And then the last about 8 or 10 minutes of this of this direct, I thought was some of the most damning evidence against Wendi Adelson brought out by the prosecutor all day. Let's take a listen to it.
And I wasn't ready for it. She said, so we just want to let you know that Danny's been shot, and they took him to the hospital, but he didn't make it. And it didn't make any sense. And I probably asked like a few medical questions, and they said they're driving up to go help Wendi, and we'll talk to you later. We can't talk now.
Okay. Was she crying in that conversation?
None of the
Adelson?
conversation.
Sir?
No, she was not.
Okay.
It was very matter of fact.
Did she ever give you any further detail that weekend about how he'd been shot, or other than just Danny was shot and he didn't make it?
I think it was the next day. So the only really other time that I spoke with him that weekend, I was in the airport going home, like Sunday afternoon. So it was definitely the next day. And, it was the first time I could actually have any kind of conversation. And, one of the things that she told me is, it bothered me, but I didn't have any other details about it. But she said that, someone went to the front door and said, "Are you Dan Markel?" and then shot him. And then I said, "Well, how could you know that? Who's telling you that?" And she said, "Well, that's just what they're telling us." And
Okay. So she said someone told her that.
Just didn't make sense, right? That doesn't make sense. How would you know that information? And now he gets to show you the mind of an Adelson, not in the web, right? Was Wendi, you tell me, was Wendi in it or not? I thought it was brilliant for the state to put him on right after Wendi to juxtaposition, to show the difference between the two. Somebody that maybe was in on it versus somebody that was very clearly not in on it, not driving by the crime scene, not knowing what was going on, not the center of all of it, not the one that benefited from this whole conspiracy and criminal act. Big Apple Hoosier said, I don't know if I've just seen this to you many times, but this one did not seem that impactful compared to the other testimonies. So the more you hear it, the less impactful it does become. But you guys let me know, do you agree with Big Apple Hoosier or not? It was definitely a bit of a different direct and a very different cross than we've heard in other cases. The defense team is running marathons around Rashbaum. It's a different theory, different way to handle the case. I agree. It's a very different call. Rashbaum was very confident in their theory that I think fell very, very, very flat, personally. All right, we're overtime. I forgot to say it. Make sure everybody hits that like button right now. Hit it. We're over an hour. Make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already, because we're going to be hitting this content every night. Let's keep listening here to finish our video with the rest of Rob's testimony.
Someone knocked on Danny's door, said, "Are you Dan Markel?" He said yes, and the shooter shot him.
That's the story I heard. And, later we found out that wasn't what happened, but that story bothered me a lot because there's only one way you could hear that story.
Was she crying when she told you that information?
No.
You mentioned earlier that law enforcement contacted you after Dan Markel's murder. Did they contact you to try to see if you knew any information?
Yeah, they came to our house. I was already at work, and so they talked to my wife. It had to be a Wednesday or Thursday, so I was already at work.
Was this your house in New York?
Yes.
Okay. Did you end up talking to law enforcement and answering their questions, letting them know what you knew?
Yeah, they came to my office the next day, and we with two agents, and we had an interview.
Okay. After that conversation you said it was the FBI earlier, right?
Yes.
Okay. After that conversation with the FBI, did Donna Adelson ever say anything to you about having talked to law enforcement or the FBI?
It was either that afternoon or the next day, but and she called me and said, just want to let you know, if the police come around, don't talk to them.
Okay, so she told you not.
He's like, "Yeah, right. I'm not going to talk to the police." Yeah, good one, Mom. But to me, he was incredibly credible, brutal. Felt like very difficult for him to be there. A successful doctor in New York, right? It's not like the black sheep of the family or something, even though he is estranged from the family. But very clearly, somebody the Adelsons wanted to keep on the outside, which to me was very obvious and makes them all look very guilty to me. I thought he was a brilliant witness to call for the state right when they called him.
Not to talk to law enforcement.
Correct.
Did you let her know that you already had talked to law
Yeah, I
enforcement?
said I already did.
What did she say to that?
She said, "Oh, well, you don't know anything anyway."
You don't know anything anyway?
Correct.
Yikes. Oh, you talk to the cops? It's okay because you don't know anything anyway. Wow. We know what Charlie did. 100% sure he did it to shut up Donna. But did he tell Donna he was extorted and she believed him? Also, what happened to the presumption of innocence? More people think BK innocent than Donna/Wendi. Yeah, she is definitely presumed innocent. Wendi, I think, is a tough sell for the state altogether. But the difference between Wendy's testimony and Rob is very jarring to watch and to see them back to back, number one. Number two, the state is far from proving Wendi Adelson's guilt in a crime to me. But they're doing a good job of connecting everybody up and building this case up one building block at a time.
Was that an unusual statement coming from your mother?
Yeah, everything that week was unusual, but I clearly didn't know anything, but I wasn't going to not talk to the FBI if they show up at my house.
How did you respond? Let me ask you this. After the murder of Dan Markel, did Donna Adelson seem curious about who killed Dan Markel?
No.
Was there a complete lack of curiosity?
Yeah, nobody seemed curious.
Did you actually ever ask her, like after the murder, like, "Hey, like, what do you think happened? What do you?"
Yeah, and the conversations were kind of rerouted, or that was certainly discouraged. And it was probably like maybe sometime like mid-August, when I finally had a chance to ask and say, what is going on? This was not a small event. This was getting a lot of notoriety. And I said, what do you guys think happened? And she had said, I don't know and I don't care. It doesn't concern me.
Was that out of character for her to not be curious and not be asking some questions?
Yeah, it was an unsolved murder of my former brother-in-law, like someone that we all know very well. If it was like some neighborhood gossip, people would be interested. This was like national interest. And
it's like, yeah, something we probably would have talked about as a family, something that might be important to talk about.
Nobody had any curiosity about, who did this to Danny.
Is a person, you mentioned that, not only is it your brother-in-law, but it was like national news at that point as well.
Yes.
And regardless of it being national news or not, is a person dying from gun violence an extremely unusual thing to happen in your family?
Yeah, to this day, Danny's the only person that I know who's died from gun violence or been a victim of gun violence. So it's unique in that manner.
What would your mom, Donna Adelson, do if you did try to ask her any more about Danny's murder after that?
It wasn't a subject for discussion. It would be rerouted, or it was just not a subject to discuss.
When you say rerouted,
how do you think that comes off? Anytime I tried to bring it up, it was rerouted. Okay. He doesn't know anything anyway. I thought he was incredibly damning for Donna Adelson.
I mean, like changing the subject?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fast forward to 2016. Do you remember in May of 2016 when Sigfredo Garcia and Luis Rivera were arrested?
Yeah, I do. I actually I saw it in the OR lounge. Someone told me about it. It had to be like a Wednesday, and
And you were in the the operating room
yeah,
lounge?
it was
And
the
someone
lounge.
told you about
Yes,
it?
it was someone else because
Okay.
stories like this people see on Twitter or such, and I remember someone telling me like, hey, did you hear about that the case, because it's more than one person had followed it, and I saw it, and then that was on the 26th, and I remember the dates because our anniversary is on the 28th of May. My wife and I were like, should we call them? Like they arrested some guy who killed Danny, and
When you say then, you mean like should we
my
call
parents.
my parents? And
Yes.
yeah, okay. So
So he's like, our anniversary is the next day. Should we call my parents? Should we bring it up or wait till they call us?
it was big news that even people you work with were seeing that there were finally some arrests made.
right.
Okay. And that was 2 days before your anniversary. You said?
Yes.
Okay. So did you and your wife eventually talk to your parents?
We did. Like we thought, like, should we call them? And we figured, that if they wanted to call us, they would call us, and then they didn't. And so we figured, well, they'll call us on our anniversary, and so we can just sit tight. And I'm sure it's pretty stressful. And this guy was arrested in Miami, and so they called us on our anniversary, which was the 28th.
Okay. So that was 2 days after the arrest, I think.
2 days after I found out. Yes.
2 days after you found out. Thank you. So on the 28th, did you talk to Donna Adelson?
Yes.
All right. And when she called you, was she telling you the good news that Danny's killers were arrested?
No, just called us for anniversary, and wished us well, and had some small talk for a bit. I kind of let it go for a little bit. I mean, this was not small news, and so I finally broached the topic and said, they found the guy, they arrested someone who killed Danny. There's no response, and I said it, at least 2 or 3 times that they arrested, they made an arrest, they got the guy who killed Danny. And then her response was, I've got to go.
And then did she hang up the phone after that?
Yes.
And did you ever talk to her about it again ever after that?
No.
It looks like he's tearing up to me. Ugo Monk said, I didn't like the fact that Rob spun the fact that his mom said not to talk to the police, but left out the fact their attorney friend advised them not to. That was something that was brought up on Cross. The fact that he only visited 2 times from 2012 to 2014 and called less than once a week. So, kind of showing that he was kind of on the outs with them. It would have been abnormal for them to have him involved in all these conversations. I think they did an okay. He's kind of an ironclad witness. It's tough to kind of poke holes into him. So they were basically like, well, you weren't really involved in the family as much as everybody else was anyways. About as good as you can do. Here's what I'll say, though. The judge is letting him testify to this, and this is probably what a lot of people would think. Why would you tell me not to talk to the cops? You must be in on it. That's basically what it comes down to. And it was, in fact, his mom telling him not to talk to the cops, not a lawyer telling him not to the cops, which there is a difference. BRRK, Wendi needs ARCA for her trip down Trescott. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not ever one that's going to hold somebody talking to a lawyer or not talking to the cops against them. But what do you think the jury thought when they heard that? What do you think? All right, I've got to go because Whitney has a flat tire, so I need to go pick her up. So you guys, hit that like button. Let me know in the comments what you thought, who you think is winning, and I will see you guys tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, another recap every night, daily recaps here. Love hanging out with you guys. Till next time, peace. Thanks for watching another episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the thumbs up and share with your friends who may be interested here on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram, X, Facebook, and TikTok. And don't forget to check out the Lawyer You Know podcast featuring new episodes every week. And if you have a case that you want to personally talk to us about in your life, if it's a personal injury case, wrongful death, catastrophic injury, car accident, truck accident, or slip and fall case, please email us at lawyeryouknow@gmail.com. And of course, all these links I just mentioned are included in the description below on this episode and every episode. So until next time, this is Peter Tragos, the Lawyer You Know.